The Galactic Council's grand chamber was filled with alien leaders, each a representative of a powerful species from across the galaxy. Towering spires of metal and glass surrounded them, and the endless expanse of stars could be seen through the massive windows. The members of the council sat in their seats, their faces stoic, their minds focused on the issue at hand. For centuries, humanity had kept its distance from the greater galaxy. Earth was a quiet, isolated world, unnoticed by the powerful forces that ruled the stars. But now everything was about to change. The council was discussing a series of growing tensions, territorial disputes between star systems, trade routes, under threat, and rumors of a new dangerous weapon being developed by an unknown force. But as they bickered among themselves, one subject loomed large: the arrival of the human diplomat. "Why should we bother with the humans?" one of the council members, a reptilian alien named Zorath, hissed. "Their world is insignificant. The humans can barely leave their own planet. What can they possibly offer us? They've been silent for too long," the Zalkoth, a large insectoid leader, said. "Let them come and we'll see what they have to say. But I expect nothing." Despite their dismissive attitudes, all eyes were on the main doors of the council chamber as they slid open. The human diplomat entered the room and the alien leaders fell silent. His name was Daniel Brooks, a calm and composed man who exuded confidence in every step. He wore a simple but neatly pressed suit, which stood in stark contrast to the grandiose armor and robes of the alien leaders. He was human, a species often looked down upon, considered weak and insignificant by those who held power across the stars. Daniel walked toward the center of the room, his eyes scanning the faces of those around him. The alien leaders studied him with a mix of curiosity and scorn, eager to hear what the human had to say. "Greetings, esteemed members of the Galactic Council," Daniel said, his voice steady and clear. "I come before you today on behalf of the people of Earth." Some of the leaders smirked. The humans were always so confident, but they were still a young species. They had no place in the grand galactic order. Daniel continued, "For years Earth has watched the galaxy from the sidelines, silent and patient. But we are no longer content with being ignored. Our people have faced enough threats, and we will no longer accept being treated as inferior." A ripple of surprise passed through the room. The humans had never shown such confidence, such boldness. The Zorath leader sneered. "What are you implying, human? That you have something to offer us? Your species is barely capable of interstellar travel. You couldn't even defeat your own world's natural threats before reaching the stars." Daniel's gaze hardened. "You underestimate us," he replied. "I'm not here to beg for your approval or sympathy. I'm here to make one thing clear. Earth is not afraid of you, and we are ready to do whatever it takes to defend our future." A few of the alien leaders exchanged glances, confused by Daniel's words. Zalkoth was the first to speak. "And what, human, do you expect us to do with such insolence? Do you think we will simply bow to your demands?" Daniel took a deep breath and stood tall. "I expect nothing less than respect. But if you continue to threaten Earth, then I have only one message for you. It's time for war." The room fell into stunned silence. The Zalkoth sputtered, unable to process the words. "War? You dare speak of war to us?" Daniel's voice remained calm but resolute. "Yes, we've tolerated enough. Our planet, our people, are no longer going to be bullied. If the Council's actions continue to threaten Earth, we will not hesitate to defend ourselves." For a long moment, there was no response. The Council leaders, who had once viewed Earth as little more than a speck in the vastness of the galaxy, now saw something entirely different. The human diplomat had not begged or pleaded. He had declared war. Daniel's message hung heavy in the room. The peaceful days of the Galactic Council, where Earth was invisible to the galaxy's powers, were over. The Zorath leader growled. "You speak of war as if your species could win one. We will crush you, human. The galaxy has no need for your kind." Daniel's lips curled into a faint smile. "Then you will learn, just as the rest of the galaxy will, that underestimating humanity is a mistake you will regret." The members of the council shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They had expected the human to cower, to beg for mercy, or to plead for their place in the galaxy. But instead, Daniel Brooks had delivered a chilling ultimatum. The room was charged with tension, and the air itself seemed to vibrate with the force of Daniel's words. The Zalkoth leaned forward, narrowing his many eyes. "You will regret this, human. You will pay for this insolence." Daniel stood unyielding, his gaze locked with the alien leader. "We will see, Zalkoth. We will see." With that, Daniel, Brooks turned and walked toward the door, his steps echoing in the silence of the room. The alien leader sat frozen, unable to speak for a long time after his departure. The message was clear. Humanity had finally decided to stand its ground, and they were not going to back down. The moment the doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid shut behind Daniel Brooks, the alien leaders sat in stunned silence. The air felt thick with tension. No one had ever spoken to the council like that before. No one, except the humans. The audacity of Daniel's words lingered in their minds, making them uneasy. Zorath, the reptilian leader, still fumed, his tail flicking restlessly behind him. "He must be bluffing," Zorath muttered under his breath, his voice thick with disdain. "No species so young and primitive can challenge the might of the galaxy." "But he wasn't bluffing, Zorath," said Zalkoth, his insectoid eyes narrowing. "Did you see the calm in his eyes? He wasn't afraid. This human speaks with a certain certainty. We must prepare for the possibility that they aren't as weak as we think." The council members exchanged uneasy glances. They had long dismissed humanity as nothing more than a fledgling race, far from the powerhouses of the galaxy. But Daniel's declaration had shaken them, and a question began to form in their minds. What if they weren't underestimating humanity, but misjudging them entirely? Meanwhile, on Earth, Daniel's words had sparked a wave of change. The news of his bold declaration reached every corner of the planet in an instant. Earth was no longer just a spectator in galactic affairs. The human race had just declared its readiness for war. The United Nations quickly called an emergency summit. General Lena Hayes, Earth's most decorated military officer, stood before the world leaders, her face grim but determined. Behind her was a massive hologram of Earth's military forces, showing fleets of advanced warships that had been secretly developed in the last decade. "Humanity's response to the Galactic Council's threats is clear," General Hayes said. "We are ready to defend Earth. We are no longer just a fragile world waiting for its turn to be crushed. We have the firepower to hold our ground." The human fleet was nothing like what the galaxy's inhabitants had expected. Earth had been silently building up its arsenal for years, far beyond what the aliens had anticipated. The people of Earth had focused on resourcefulness and ingenuity, developing cutting-edge technologies in secret, including stealth ships and advanced weapon systems. General Hayes gestured to the hologram. "These ships represent the combined strength of humanity. Their weapons are capable of disabling the most advanced alien warships in the galaxy. We've developed defenses that can counter any threat." Back on Earth, there was a quiet but growing sense of pride. News broadcasts filled with footage of Earth's military preparing for what could be the most significant battle the planet had ever faced. Citizens gathered in the streets, some in awe, others in fear, but all aware of the new reality. Humanity was no longer just a target. It was a force that could fight back. The military wasn't the only area seeing rapid advancements. Earth scientists had also been working tirelessly on new technologies that could give humanity an edge in the coming conflict. Energy shields were being perfected, new alloys were being forged that could withstand extreme pressure, and human engineers were modifying spacecraft for deep space combat. The Galactic Council had no idea what was coming their way. While Earth's leaders were preparing their forces, the Galactic Council was still grappling with the implications of Daniel's speech. The threat of Earth's military had been dismissed, but now it was clear that this was not a bluff. The human forces were not as primitive as they had assumed. But there was a lingering question in the minds of the Council. Could humanity truly hold its ground? Zalkoth, the insectoid leader, summoned his generals. "We have to act now," he said, his voice full of urgency. "The longer we wait, the stronger the humans will become. We cannot allow them to gain any more ground. Our fleets will strike first." The plan was set in motion. The Galaxian elite, the most powerful and technologically advanced species in the galaxy, were called into action. They were tasked with leading an overwhelming strike against Earth, an effort that was meant to crush the human resistance once and for all. The Council was confident that Earth could never withstand the combined might of their fleets. But even as the enemy fleets began to mobilize, Earth's forces were ready. They had been preparing for this moment for years. General Hayes had worked tirelessly to ensure that every soldier, every officer, every fleet commander was prepared for the battle ahead. Earth's leaders understood that this fight wasn't just about military victory. It was about proving to the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. The human fleets, numbering in the hundreds, were positioned just beyond Earth's atmosphere, waiting for the moment they would face the full force of the Galaxian elite. The soldiers aboard each ship, both seasoned veterans and new recruits, were fully aware of the stakes. They were about to make their stand in a battle that could change the fate of humanity forever. Daniel Brooks, standing before Earth's leaders, addressed the growing crowd of military and political figures. "We are not just fighting for our survival. We are fighting for our place in the galaxy. For too long we've been treated as if we don't belong here. But no more. We fight now not just for Earth, but for every human alive, and every future generation that will inherit this world." His words resonated deeply with the people. Earth's citizens had always been known for their resilience, their ability to face the impossible and overcome it. Now they had something more to fight for: respect. In a war that would span the stars, Earth would no longer stand by, quietly accepting its fate. The time for action had come. Humanity would rise up and face the challenge head-on, no matter the cost. On Earth, military forces prepared for the coming conflict. Ships powered up, weapon systems were tested, and battle strategies were finalized. Everyone knew this war would be unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. The aliens would soon realize that Earth was no longer a world to be ignored. As the countdown began for Earth's first major strike against the Galactic Council, there was a shift in the galaxy. News from across the stars spread like wildfire. Humanity was not just capable of defending itself, they were prepared to fight. And the entire galaxy would feel the weight of this challenge. The stars above Earth burned bright as the countdown began. On the surface of the planet, humanity's forces stood ready. Every man and woman in the military had been trained for this moment. The world watched, united under one banner: survival. The message was clear. Earth would fight to the last breath if necessary. The Galaxian elite, the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, was on its way. A massive armada, composed of the best ships and soldiers from across the stars, was heading for Earth. The Council was certain that this overwhelming force would crush the human resistance in a matter of hours. They expected the human fleets to scatter in fear, just as they had expected from the beginning, but they had not reckoned on the ingenuity of humanity. General Lena Hayes stood in the command center aboard the flagship Vanguard, staring at the vast expanse of space through the windows. The alien fleets were still out of range, but her mind was sharp and focused. She knew this would be the most crucial battle of her life. There would be no retreat, no second chances. "Sir," a voice interrupted her thoughts. It was Captain Elena Torres, her second-in-command, standing at the communications station. "The enemy fleet is approaching. They'll be in range within the hour." General Hayes nodded, her face calm but determined. "Prepare the fleet. We fight for Earth today." The plan was simple but daring. The human fleets would use the element of surprise to their advantage. For months, they had been secretly modifying their ships with stealth technology, an innovation that was far beyond anything the Galactic Council had expected. The human ships could now move undetected through the vast reaches of space, and Earth's military intended to use this to strike first. As the enemy fleet drew closer, the human ships moved into position. On the Vanguard, General Hayes gave the signal. The fleet, invisible to the alien sensors, moved into formation. The time had come. Launch all fighters. Engage the stealth mode, General Hayes ordered. The human ships, cloaked by advanced technology, slipped silently into position behind the alien armada. They were nearly invisible, just small blips on the enemy's radar. It was a strategy designed to confuse and disorient the enemy, and it would work. The Galactic Council's ships had no idea what was coming. The first wave of human fighters emerged from their cloaking field, racing toward the alien fleet. The surprise was total. The Galaxian ships had no time to react before human torpedoes and plasma cannons began tearing through their defenses. Ships exploded in a bright flash of light, and for a moment chaos reigned. The alien fleet, now realizing they were under attack, scrambled to respond. But the humans were already one step ahead. The Vanguard, leading the charge, fired its main cannon, a weapon that sent out a massive shockwave that crippled several enemy ships in a single blast. It was a weapon designed specifically to target the alien fleet's weak points, and it worked. The Galaxian elite was panicked. They had never faced an enemy like this before, one that could strike without warning and then vanish into the void of space. Their ships attempted to regroup, but the humans were relentless. The human fleets, moving like a swarm of bees, darted in and out of the shadows, attacking with precision and speed. Captain Torres, prepare the second wave. We keep pressing, General Hayes ordered. The first wave had caused heavy damage, but the battle was far from over. The alien ships retaliated, launching counterattacks in all directions. They fired powerful plasma beams and sent shockwaves rippling through space, but the human fleet was faster and more maneuverable. The Vanguard and its sister ships were equipped with advanced shielding that absorbed most of the incoming fire. Their small, agile fighters darted through the chaos, avoiding the enemy's attacks and returning fire with deadly accuracy. "This is impossible." Zorath, one of the council leaders, growled from aboard his flagship, watching the battle unfold. How can these humans have such advanced technology? Where did they get it? The Zalkoth leader was silent for a moment, his antennae twitching in thought. "We must regroup and rethink our strategy. The humans are not as weak as we believed." The human fleet continued to press its advantage. Despite being outnumbered, they were using their technology, their strategy, and their sheer willpower to hold their own. Earth's military might was quickly proving itself to be a force to be reckoned with, but the Galaxian elite was not easily defeated. They regrouped and launched a full-scale counter-offensive. The tide of battle began to shift as the enemy brought in reinforcements, massive warships bristling with weapons. The human fleet, though strong, was still vastly outnumbered. General Hayes knew the human forces had to hold out just a little longer before the final blow could be struck. "This is our moment," General Hayes said, her voice steady despite the mounting pressure. "Keep up the pressure. Hold the line." Then, the unthinkable happened. Just as the human fleet was about to be overwhelmed by the alien reinforcements, a new wave of ships emerged from the shadows. Earth's final weapon, the Titan-class warships, had arrived. These ships were the pinnacle of human engineering. They were heavily armored, equipped with cutting-edge weapons, and capable of turning the tide of any battle. As they powered into the fray, their massive guns opened fire, launching barrages of energy blasts that tore through the enemy's ships like paper. One by one, the alien warships exploded, their crew members unable to react in time to the human onslaught. The remaining members of the Galaxian elite were stunned. They had underestimated humanity once more. What they thought would be a quick one-sided battle had turned into a devastating defeat for their forces. "We've done it," General Hayes said, her voice filled with relief. "Earth's message has been sent." As the last of the alien ships were destroyed or forced to retreat, Daniel Brooks' words echoed in the minds of the council members. "It's time for war." The human race had proven itself capable of waging and winning a war against the galaxy's most powerful fleets. Earth was no longer a minor player in galactic politics. It was a force that could not be ignored. On Earth, celebrations erupted. Humanity had faced the impossible and emerged victorious. But the war was far from over. The Galactic Council would not take this defeat lightly. The future of humanity in the galaxy had been secured, but the real battle was just beginning. The stars were quiet, but the tension in the galaxy was thick. The humans had struck first, and their victory was undeniable. The once overconfident Galactic Council had been forced to retreat, their elite fleets broken and scattered. But they would not allow Earth's bold challenge to go unanswered. The Council had underestimated humanity's strength, and they would not make that mistake again. In the heart of the Galactic Council's massive citadel, the leaders convened in an emergency meeting. They gathered around a large table, the glow of holographic displays casting light on their grim faces. Zalkoth, the insectoid leader, was the first to speak. "This is an embarrassment. We have never been so humiliated in the history of the Council. A species barely out of its cradle has defeated us in battle." His voice was filled with fury, his sharp mandibles clicking with each word. He paced back and forth, clearly struggling to contain his rage. Zorath, the reptilian leader, growled in agreement. "We cannot let this go unanswered. Humanity must be taught a lesson, one they will never forget. We cannot let their insolence spread. They are nothing but ants beneath our feet." The Galaxian elite had been defeated, but the true power of the Council still lay in the other species aligned with them, forces that had yet to fully reveal their strength. Now the Council was preparing to unleash everything they had to crush Earth and restore their dominance in the galaxy. "Summon the Iron Legion, the Vernesh Dominion, and the Dracor Confederacy," said Zalkoth. "We will show these humans the full might of the galaxy. Earth will regret defying us." But even as the Council members made their plans for retaliation, the human forces were not sitting idle. On Earth, the message was clear. The war was not over. The human fleet had been victorious, but the fight for survival was just beginning. General Lena Hayes and her team knew that the Council would not simply accept defeat. The real battle was ahead. Back on Earth, General Hayes stood in front of a massive holographic display. The room was filled with military leaders, engineers, and strategists. They had already begun to prepare for the Council's inevitable counterattack. "We have no time to waste," General Hayes said, her voice resolute. "The Galactic Council will retaliate with everything they have. But we are ready. We have to stay one step ahead." Behind her, the hologram flickered to life, showing detailed images of the Galactic Council's remaining fleets. Titan-class warships, the deadliest ships in the galaxy, were assembling. New alliances were being formed between the galaxy's most dangerous species, and their combined forces would be an overwhelming threat. But humanity had no intention of backing down. "We've learned a lot from the last battle," General Hayes continued. "The Council's ships are powerful, but they have weaknesses. We've made adjustments to our weapons, and our stealth technology is now more advanced than ever. We will strike hard, we will strike fast, and we will strike first." The room hummed with activity as plans were laid out. Earth's military engineers had developed new weapon systems that could penetrate the Titan-class warship's armor. The hypernova cannons, as they were called, were designed to pierce even the toughest defenses, but their power came at a cost. These weapons would only have a limited number of shots before they had to be recharged. The human fleet was also being reinforced. More ships were being launched, equipped with the latest technology. Earth CU1. Forces were growing stronger by the day, preparing for the next battle. The time for hiding was over. Earth had taken the fight to the Galactic Council, and now it was their turn to respond. The clash of armadas. The moment arrived faster than anyone expected. The Galactic Council's counterattack began. Massive fleets of warships led by the Iron Legion, a formidable group of mechanical warriors, descended upon Earth. The skies above Earth darkened as the first wave of enemy ships appeared, their powerful engines blazing as they cut through space like a storm. General Hayes watched the radar as the enemy ships emerged from their stealth fields. The numbers were staggering. Dozens of warships, each one more powerful than anything Earth had ever seen. But Earth's forces were ready. The human fleet, hidden in the shadows of Earth's moon, prepared to engage. As soon as the enemy entered range, the human ships powered up their weapons and the battle began. "Launch all fighters, engage the enemy," General Hayes shouted. Her voice was steady, but her heart raced with adrenaline. Earth's forces had already proven they could stand their ground, but this would be their toughest fight yet. The first barrage of energy blasts lit up the blackness of space. The Iron Legion's ships returned fire, their plasma cannons tearing through space with deadly precision. But the human ships, faster and more agile, dodged the attacks and retaliated with powerful volleys from their own weapons. Human fighters swarmed the alien ships, darting in and out of the battle. The Titan-class warships were formidable, but the human fleet's new weapons found their mark, punching through the alien ships' defenses. The battle was fierce, with explosions lighting up the stars as warships clashed in the cold void. Earth's forces were outnumbered, but they had something the Council didn't: determination. The human fleet fought like a swarm of hornets, each ship striking with precision and ferocity. The Vanguard, General Hayes's flagship, was at the center of the chaos, its massive guns firing relentless blasts of energy at the enemy. The battle raged on for hours, neither side willing to give in. The Dracor Confederacy, known for their ruthless tactics, attempted to board human ships, but the human fleet was ready. They fought back with everything they had, using their newly developed weaponry to turn the tide of battle. But even as the human forces pushed forward, the Galactic Council was not backing down. Their fleets fought with everything they had, determined to crush Earth's resistance once and for all. The first major battle was over, but it was clear to both sides. The war was far from finished. The war between Earth and the Galactic Council raged on. It had been days since the first major battle, and the results were clear. Humanity had shown that it could hold its ground against the most powerful fleets in the galaxy. But this was only the beginning. Both sides knew that the real war had yet to come. General Lena Hayes stood on the command bridge of the Vanguard, staring out at the endless expanse of space. The battle had taken its toll. Earth's fleet was damaged and many lives had been lost, but humanity had not given up. "We've pushed them back, but we haven't won yet," General Hayes said, her voice calm but filled with determination. "We can't stop now. Earth needs us to keep fighting." Behind her, the tactical officers worked frantically to monitor the movements of the Galaxian elite and their allies. The enemy was regrouping, and new ships were being deployed to reinforce their forces. The war was far from over, but humanity had made its mark. Earth was no longer the weak, isolated planet it once was. It was a force to be reckoned with. As the Vanguard continued to monitor the enemy fleets, a new message arrived from Daniel Brooks, Earth's diplomat, who had been in communication with the Galactic Council. His role in the war had been crucial, negotiating, coordinating, and making sure that Earth's actions were aligned with its ultimate goal. "General Hayes," the message began, "I've done all I can to get the Council's attention. They still refuse to believe humanity can hold its own, but I've sent them a message they can't ignore. It's time we end this. It's time to make them listen." General Hayes turned to face the holographic display, where Daniel's face appeared. His eyes were tired, but his expression was resolute. "We've done enough damage to their fleets to make them think twice about attacking Earth," Daniel continued. "But it's not enough to stop the war. The Council's leaders are too proud to back down now. They need to see us as equals. No more, no less. I want to offer them one final chance. If they accept our terms, we can end this without further bloodshed." General Hayes listened carefully. She had always known that the Council would not simply stop their attacks. They would need a reason to end the war, and that reason had to come from Earth. "What do you propose, Daniel?" General Hayes asked. Daniel's expression softened. "I want to offer them peace, but peace on our terms. We demand full recognition of Earth as an equal member of the Galactic Council, and we want our people to be treated with respect. No more threats, no more exploitation. If they agree, we will end this war." The general paused, thinking. She knew this was a bold move, but the idea of ending the war without further bloodshed was tempting. Still, it was a gamble. The Galactic Council had always seen humanity as weak and insignificant. Would they accept peace, or would they continue the war? "Very well," General Hayes said after a long moment. "I'll support you. Let's see if they're willing to listen." The Galactic Council's decision, the message from Daniel Brooks, was sent across the stars to the Galactic Council. The alien leaders had already been reeling from the damage done to their fleets, but they were not yet ready to back down. They had underestimated humanity before, but now they had to face the truth. Earth was no longer a minor player in galactic affairs. The humans had proven themselves as a formidable force. Salkoth, the insectoid leader, was the first to speak, after receiving Daniel's message. "How dare they? They expect us to bow to them now." He was furious, his many eyes narrowing in anger. Zorath, the reptilian leader, remained calm. "They have dealt us a blow, that is true, but are we ready to admit defeat? Are we willing to accept a race of creatures that barely knows how to navigate the stars as equals?" The other council members were silent, considering Zorath's words. The damage to their fleets was undeniable, and the fear of Earth's military might was beginning to settle in. But pride ran deep in the Galactic Council, and the idea of conceding to humanity was difficult to accept. "We cannot allow humanity to think they can challenge us," said Zalkoth, his voice low and dangerous. "But if we continue to fight, we risk losing more fleets, more soldiers, and more resources. Perhaps it is time to consider their offer." The council members looked at each other, their thoughts racing. The decision was not an easy one. But the truth was clear. Earth was no longer a world they could ignore. They had to decide if they wanted to continue the war, or if they were ready to accept humanity's place among the stars. The peace proposal. A few days later, the Council sent its official response to Earth's offer. The message was brief, but filled with implications. "We are willing to discuss the terms of peace. But understand this: the Galactic Council will never allow an inferior species to dictate the future of the galaxy. If you seek peace, it must be on our terms, not yours." General Hayes, standing with Daniel and the other leaders of Earth's military, read the message carefully. It was a step forward, but it was also a challenge. The Council was still unwilling to fully acknowledge humanity as equals. "Looks like we're not out of the woods yet," General Hayes said. "But they're willing to talk. That's progress." Daniel nodded. "Yes. It's a victory in itself. We've made them see that we are not to be taken lightly. Now we have to make sure they know we're serious." The Galactic Council's leaders had agreed to a formal meeting, a face-to-face negotiation where the terms of peace would be discussed. Daniel and General Hayes, representing Earth, would lead the negotiations. This was their chance to secure peace, but it was also a chance to prove that humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer in question. The future of Earth as the peace talks began. Earth's place in the galaxy was forever changed. The battle had been hard-fought and many lives had been lost, but humanity had emerged stronger, wiser, and more unified than ever before. The galaxy would never see Earth as a weak, insignificant world again. General Hayes and Daniel stood side by side watching the stars above. The war had taught them many lessons, but the most important lesson was this: humanity had the power to shape its own destiny. No longer would they be pushed around. They had fought for their future, and now they were going to secure it. The future of Earth had arrived, and it was bright,